The unexpected signal. Commander Sarah Chen stared at the readout on her quantum receiver, wondering if lack of sleep was finally making her hallucinate. The signal was impossible. A transmission from the Xylaxians, the most advanced species humanity had ever encountered. The same species that had diplomatically told Earth to come back in a few millennia, when they'd first met 5 years ago. But there it was, clear as day on her screen at the Titan Deep Space Monitoring Station. A distress call. "Station I, verify signal authenticity," she ordered, her fingers drumming against the cold metal console. "Signal verified with 99.99% certainty," the AI responded. "Origin: Xylaxian Central Colony. Message classification: Emergency Priority Alpha." Sarah leaned back in her chair, the station's dim lighting reflecting off her dark eyes. The Xylaxians, masters of quantum engineering and self-proclaimed pinnacle of galactic civilization, were asking for help. The irony would have been delicious if the contents of their message weren't so alarming. Their quantum core, the massive power source that sustained their entire civilization, was experiencing cascading failures that their predictive AI couldn't solve. Without intervention, it would collapse within 72 hours, taking their central colony of 15 million souls with it. "Show me the quantum core's telemetry data," Sarah commanded. The holographic display sprang to life, filling the air with streams of complex equations. She might not be a quantum physicist, but 5 years running Earth's most advanced monitoring station had taught her to spot patterns. What she saw made her blood run cold. The failure cascade wasn't just similar to the Shanghai incident from 15 years ago. It was nearly identical. Humanity had lost 30,000 people, learning how to prevent that particular type of quantum instability. The Xylaxians, for all their advanced AI and perfect predictions, had never experienced catastrophic failure. They didn't know how to handle it. But humans did. Sarah's hand hovered over the emergency broadcast button. Protocol dictated she should wake Admiral Hayes, run it through proper channels, wait for authorization. But the patterns on her screen showed acceleration. The Xylaxians might not have 72 hours. "Station I, get me a direct link to Earth Central Command," she ordered. "And wake up Dr. Marcus Torres in quantum engineering. Tell him," she paused, a slight smile crossing her face, "tell him humanity just got a chance to show the galaxy what we can really do." As alerts began blaring throughout the station, Sarah studied the quantum core data again. The Xylaxians had built their civilization on the assumption that sufficiently advanced technology could eliminate the possibility of failure. Humanity had built theirs on the understanding that failure was inevitable, and that true advancement came from learning to overcome it. Now those two philosophies were about to collide, and 15 million lives hung in the balance. Sarah just hoped the galaxy's primitives could teach its most advanced civilization a lesson about the value of imperfection before it was too late. The next few hours passed in a blur of activity. Dr. Torres confirmed her analysis. The quantum core's failure pattern matched the Shanghai incident almost exactly. The solution that had worked then might work now, but scaled up by a factor of 1,000. "It's insane," Torres muttered, his weathered face illuminated by holographic equations. "Their containment algorithms are perfect. Absolutely perfect." "And that's the problem?" Sarah asked. "Exactly. They've designed a system that can't adapt, can't flex. When something goes wrong, it has nowhere to go but catastrophic failure." He shook his head. "We learned this lesson the hard way. Sometimes you need controlled imperfection to prevent uncontrolled disaster." Earth Central Command's response came faster than Sarah expected. Maybe they recognized the irony of the situation too, or maybe they just understood that letting 15 million Xylaxians die when Earth could have helped would change human-alien relations forever, and not in a good way. "Assemble your team." "Commander," Admiral Hayes' hologram announced. "The UES Prometheus launches in 6 hours. Try not to destroy their quantum core while fixing it. And do try to be diplomatic about showing them where they went wrong." Sarah nodded, already mentally selecting her crew. They'd need the best Earth had to offer, not just in technical skill, but in that uniquely human ability to improvise, to find unexpected solutions, to turn failure into opportunity. The Xylaxians were about to learn that sometimes the most primitive approach was exactly what was needed. Humanity was going to save them, whether they liked it or not. And maybe, just maybe, they'd all learn something in the process. Race against time. The UES Prometheus cut through space like a silver arrow, its experimental quantum drive pushing the boundaries of human engineering. In the ship's main conference room, Commander Sarah Chen faced a diverse crew of Earth's finest minds, each chosen not just for their expertise, but for their ability to think beyond conventional solutions. "Their quantum core is failing faster than predicted," Dr. Torres announced, his holographic display showing accelerating decay patterns. "The Xylaxians' AI systems are still running the same failed containment protocols over and over, making things worse." Dr. Maya Patel, the ship's theoretical physicist, leaned forward, her cybernetic eyes weird as they processed the data. "They're approaching the problem like machines, seeking perfect solutions to an imperfect problem. That's why they're failing. And that's why they need us," Sarah replied. "Because humans understand something their AIs don't. Sometimes you need to break things to fix them." The ship's engineer, James "Rocky" Rodriguez, snorted. "Break a quantum core? That's a first even for us." "Not break," Dr. Torres corrected, "destabilize. Controlled chaos to prevent uncontrolled destruction. Like a controlled burn to prevent a forest fire." The Prometheus shuddered slightly as it pushed deeper into quantum space. They were making better time than any human ship in history, but Sarah could see from the decay patterns that it might not be fast enough. "The Xylaxians won't like it," Maya warned. "Their entire civilization is built on the principle of perfect prediction and control. We're going to tell them the solution is to deliberately introduce instability. They'll like it better than watching 15 million of their people die." Sarah responded, "Rocky, how long until we reach their colony?" The engineer checked his instruments. 4 hours at current speed. Maybe 3 if we push the drive beyond safety limits." "Push it," Sarah ordered. "Dr. Torres, you and Maya keep working on the solution. I want a full proposal ready when we arrive. Rocky, keep this ship in one piece." As her crew dispersed, Sarah studied the quantum core data again. The Xylaxians' message had been clear. They expected Earth to send their best scientists, their most advanced AI systems. Instead, they were getting something very different. Humans who understood that sometimes the best solution wasn't the most elegant one. The next few hours were a symphony of controlled chaos. Rocky pushed the Prometheus's engines well beyond their design limits, held together by human ingenuity and what he called engineering intuition. In the lab, Torres and Maya developed their radical solution, knowing they'd have one chance to convince the Xylaxians to try something that went against everything they believed. "We're approaching Xylaxian space," Rocky announced. "Multiple ships detected. Looks like we're not the only ones who got their distress call." The main viewer showed dozens of alien vessels surrounding the central colony, massive ships representing the most advanced civilizations in known space. All of them, Sarah knew, would be proposing solutions based on perfect algorithms and flawless logic. And all of them would be wrong. "This is the Xylaxian Defense Fleet," a voice transmitted. "Earth vessel, maintain your current position for scanning." Sarah straightened in her command chair. "This is Commander Chen of the UES Prometheus. We're responding to your distress call with a potential solution to your quantum core crisis." A pause. "Your arrival is unexpected. Our data suggested Earth vessels lacked the capability to reach us in time." "We're full of surprises," Sarah replied diplomatically. "Request immediate permission to dock. Our analysis suggests your quantum core's deterioration is accelerating beyond your AI's predictions." Another pause, longer this time. Sarah could almost hear them debating. accept help from primitives, or maintain their technological pride. The decision was made for them as a massive energy surge rocked all the assembled ships. The quantum core's containment field flickered visibly, a sphere of pure energy briefly visible before stabilizing. "Permission granted," the Xylaxian voice said quickly. "But be warned, any attempt to access restricted technology beyond the quantum core will be met with immediate response." "Understood," Sarah replied. "We're here to help, nothing more." She turned to her crew. "This is it. One chance to prove that humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology. It's our ability to think beyond it." The Prometheus moved toward the massive Xylaxian station, its human crew carrying what might be the galaxy's most advanced civilization's only hope of survival: the courage to be imperfect. The unexpected signal. Commander Sarah Chen stared at the readout on her quantum receiver, wondering if lack of sleep was finally making her hallucinate. The signal was impossible. A transmission from the Xylaxians, the most advanced species humanity had ever encountered. The same species that had diplomatically told Earth to come back in a few millennia, when they'd first met 5 years ago. But there it was, clear as day on her screen at the Titan Deep Space Monitoring Station. A distress call. "Station I, verify signal authenticity," she ordered, her fingers drumming against the cold metal console. "Signal verified with 99.99% certainty," the AI responded. "Origin: Xylaxian Central Colony. Message classification: Emergency Priority Alpha." Sarah leaned back in her chair, the station's dim lighting reflecting off her dark eyes. The Xylaxians, masters of quantum engineering and self-proclaimed pinnacle of galactic civilization, were asking for help. The irony would have been delicious if the contents of their message weren't so alarming. Their quantum core, the massive power source that sustained their entire civilization, was experiencing cascading failures that their predictive AI couldn't solve. Without intervention, it would collapse within 72 hours, taking their central colony of 15 million souls with it. "Show me the quantum core's telemetry data," Sarah commanded. The holographic display sprang to life, filling the air with streams of complex equations. She might not be a quantum physicist, but 5 years running Earth's most advanced monitoring station had taught her to spot patterns. What she saw made her blood run cold. The failure cascade wasn't just similar to the Shanghai incident from 15 years ago. It was nearly identical. Humanity had lost 30,000 people, learning how to prevent that particular type of quantum instability. The Xylaxians, for all their advanced AI and perfect predictions, had never experienced catastrophic failure. They didn't know how to handle it. But humans did. Sarah's hand hovered over the emergency broadcast button. Protocol dictated she should wake Admiral Hayes, run it through proper channels, wait for authorization. But the patterns on her screen showed acceleration. The Xylaxians might not have 72 hours. "Station I, get me a direct link to Earth Central Command," she ordered. "And wake up Dr. Marcus Torres in quantum engineering. Tell him," she paused, a slight smile crossing her face, "tell him humanity just got a chance to show the galaxy what we can really do." As alerts began blaring throughout the station, Sarah studied the quantum core data again. The Xylaxians had built their civilization on the assumption that sufficiently advanced technology could eliminate the possibility of failure. Humanity had built theirs on the understanding that failure was inevitable, and that true advancement came from learning to overcome it. Now those two philosophies were about to collide, and 15 million lives hung in the balance. Sarah just hoped the galaxy's primitives could teach its most advanced civilization a lesson about the value of imperfection before it was too late. The next few hours passed in a blur of activity. Dr. Torres confirmed her analysis. The quantum core's failure pattern matched the Shanghai incident almost exactly. The solution that had worked then might work now, but scaled up by a factor of 1,000. "It's insane," Torres muttered, his weathered face illuminated by holographic equations. Their containment algorithms are perfect. Absolutely perfect. And that's the problem. Sarah asked. Exactly. They've designed a system that can't adapt, can't flex. When something goes wrong, it has nowhere to go but catastrophic failure. He shook his head. We learned this lesson the hard way. Sometimes you need controlled imperfection to prevent uncontrolled disaster. Earth Central Command's response came faster than Sarah expected. Maybe they recognized the irony of the situation too, or maybe they just understood that letting 15 million Xylaxians die when Earth could have helped would change human-alien relations forever, and not in a good way. Assemble your team, Commander, Admiral Hayes' hologram announced. The UES Prometheus launches in 6 hours. Try not to destroy their quantum core while fixing it, and do try to be diplomatic about showing them where they went wrong. Sarah nodded, already mentally selecting her crew. They'd need the best Earth had to offer, not just in technical skill, but in that uniquely human ability to improvise, to find unexpected solutions, to turn failure into opportunity. The Xylaxians were about to learn that sometimes the most primitive approach was exactly what was needed. Humanity was going to save them, whether they liked it or not. And maybe, just maybe, they'd all learned something in the process. The breaking point. The Xylaxian Control Center was a marvel of engineering. A vast chamber of crystalline surfaces and holographic displays showing the dying quantum core from every conceivable angle. But Dr. Marcus Torres wasn't admiring the architecture. He was studying the faces of the Xylaxian scientists as Maya explained their proposed solution. You want to do what? Chief Scientist Vextol's translucent features shifted through various shades of disbelief. Deliberately destabilize the containment field. In controlled bursts, Maya confirmed, her cybernetic eyes projecting additional data into the holographic display. Create calculated points of weakness that will allow the energy buildup to dissipate naturally rather than catastrophically. Impossible, another Xylaxian scientist declared. Our eye has run every possible scenario. The only solution is perfect containment. The quantum core pulsed ominously, sending another shockwave through the station. Warning signals flashed across multiple displays. How's that perfect containment working out? Rocky muttered from his position near the engineering controls. Commander Chen shot him a warning look, but the damage was done. We have contained quantum energy for centuries, Vextol said stiffly. Our systems are flawless. That's the problem. Torres stepped forward, pulling up the data from the Shanghai incident. Look familiar. The Xylaxian scientists clustered around the display, their crystalline forms refracting light as they moved. Torres could see the moment recognition hit them. The pattern was undeniable. This is impossible, Vextol whispered. These energy signatures are identical to our current crisis, but this data is from Earth. 15 years ago, Sarah confirmed. We lost 30,000 people learning this lesson. Sometimes perfect containment isn't the answer. Sometimes you need to let the system breathe. Another surge rocked the station, stronger than before. Multiple warning signals blared simultaneously. Containment field at 15% and falling. An automated voice announced. Catastrophic failure predicted in 47 minutes. We don't have time for debate, Torres said firmly. Your AI can't solve this because it's programmed to seek perfect solutions, but there aren't any perfect solutions here. There's just survival or destruction. Vextol's form flickered rapidly. What Torres had learned was a sign of intense internal conflict. What you propose goes against every principle of our engineering. To deliberately introduce imperfection is better than watching 15 million people die. Maya finished. Sometimes the best solution isn't the most elegant one. A massive tremor shook the station. Emergency lights flashed as backup systems engage. Containment field failing. The automated voice had a note of panic now. Critical breach imminent. Vextol looked at the dying core, then at the humans. How certain are you this will work? Honestly. Torres met their gaze. About 70%. But right now you're looking at 100% chance of failure if we do nothing. The Xylaxian scientist's form rippled with decision. Do it. But understand, if you're wrong, if this fails, then we fail trying to save lives, Sarah said quietly. Which is better than failing because we were too proud to try. Torres and Maya moved to the control stations, their hands flying over the alien interfaces. Rocky monitored the power systems, ready to redirect energy at a moment's notice. Beginning controlled destabilization, Maya announced. First weakness point establishing. Now, the quantum core's surface rippled as the first containment field variance was introduced. Every Xylaxian in the room seemed to hold their breath. Energy flow responding. Torres reported, watching the readings. It's working. Wait. His eyes widened. Something's wrong. The energy isn't dispersing the way it should. The core pulsed violently, its surface now a maelstrom of quantum energy. Warning signals screamed across every display. The containment field is rejecting the variance. Maya shouted. Their AI is fighting our changes, trying to restore perfect containment. Shut down the eye. Sarah ordered. We can't. Vextal's form was almost transparent with distress. The systems are too integrated. The AI controls everything. Rocky pushed forward. Not everything. Not yet. His hands moved across the engineering console with practiced speed. Sometimes you need to be a little less perfect and a little more human. The engineer pulled a small device from his pocket, something that made Torres groan when he recognized it. Is that? Maya started. A manual override circuit. Rocky grinned. Like the ones we used after Shanghai. You bet it is. Sometimes, the old ways are the best ways. He jammed the device into the alien console. For a moment, nothing happened. Then everything happened at once. The quantum core flared like a newborn star, its energy patterns shifting in ways that defied the Xylaxians' perfect predictions. But amidst the chaos, Torres could see something else, something beautiful. It's working, he breathed. The energy is finding its own balance. Not perfect, but stable. Maya finished, her cybernetic eyes whirring as they processed the data. We did it. The warning signals faded one by one. The core's surface settled into a new pattern, not the perfect sphere it had been before, but something more natural, more alive. The Xylaxians stared in silence at their transformed creation. Finally, Vextal spoke. How? They asked simply. How did you know this would work? We didn't, Sarah replied. We just knew that sometimes you have to trust in imperfection. Sometimes the best solutions come not from perfect predictions, but from the willingness to adapt, to change, to embrace the chaos, and make it work for you. The quantum core pulsed steadily now, its light casting new shadows across the control room. In those shadows, human and alien stood together, watching as their combined understanding of the universe shifted just a little bit closer to the truth. Sometimes the most advanced solution wasn't the most obvious one. Sometimes it took a species that understood the value of imperfection to show the way forward. Ripples of change. The days following the quantum core crisis brought changes that no one, human or Xylaxian, had anticipated. In the main observation chamber of the central colony, Commander Sarah Chen watched as the transformed core pulsed with a new kind of energy, less perfect, more alive. The readings are fascinating, Dr. Maya Patel reported, her cybernetic eyes tracking multiple data streams. The core isn't just stable, it's evolving. Each minor fluctuation creates new patterns of efficiency that our models never predicted. Chief Scientist Vextal moved closer to the observation window, their crystalline form reflecting the core's shifting light. We are uncertain how to proceed. Our entire civilization is built on predictability, on perfect solutions. This new paradigm scares the hell out of you. Rocky suggested from his position near the engineering console. He'd refused to remove his manual override circuit, claiming it was keeping things interesting. Rocky, Sarah warned, but Vextel's form rippled with what she learned to recognize as amusement. Your engineer speaks truth, they admitted. For millennia, we believed advancement meant moving closer to perfection. Now we must consider that true advancement might mean embracing imperfection. Dr. Torres entered the chamber, surrounded by a group of young Xylaxian scientists. They were talking animatedly about something he called controlled chaos theory. Your people seem to be adapting well, Sarah observed. The younger ones, yes, Vextel replied. They see possibilities where we saw only disorder. But the High Council, their form flickered with concern. Sarah understood. The High Council had been notably absent since the crisis was resolved, sequestered in emergency sessions. The political implications of being saved by primitives, and in a way that challenged the very foundations of Xylaxian society, were still unfolding. Commander, Maya called out suddenly. You need to see this. The holographic display showed energy patterns from the quantum core, but something was different. The fluctuations had organized themselves into complex, recurring patterns. It's beautiful, Torres breathed. The core isn't just adapting. It's creating new solutions we never imagined. It's learning. Like humanity, Vextel said quietly. When everyone turned to look at them, they continued. You learn through failure, through imperfection, through chaos. And you emerge stronger. Now our core does the same. A soft chime announced an incoming transmission. High Council session concluded. The automated system announced. All senior personnel report to Central Chamber. Sarah exchanged glances with her crew. This was the moment they'd been waiting for. The Xylaxians' official response to everything that had happened. The Central Chamber was packed with representatives from every major species in the sector. Sarah recognized ships from at least 20 different civilizations in orbit around the colony. Word had spread fast about what the humans had achieved. The High Council members appeared as towering holograms, their crystalline forms magnified to impressive scale. Sarah felt her crew tensing beside her, ready for whatever came next. We have reached a decision, the first speaker announced, their voice resonating through the chamber. Recent events have challenged our understanding of progress. The speaker's form shifted, creating patterns of light that reflected their internal conflict. For too long, we have equated advancement with perfection. We dismissed those who approached problems differently, believing our way was the only way forward. Their gaze fell on the human crew. We were wrong. A murmur ran through the assembled crowd. Sarah heard gasps from several alien delegations. The Xylaxians admitting error was unprecedented. The humans have shown us that true advancement comes not from eliminating imperfection, but from learning to work with it. Their solution to our crisis was not just a technical achievement. It was a philosophical revelation. The speaker's form expanded, filling the chamber with shifting light. Therefore, we propose a new initiative. Earth will be invited to establish a permanent advisory presence in our territory. We wish to learn this human perspective. Sarah felt a smile tugging at her lips. This was more than just recognition. It was an admission that the galaxy's most advanced civilization had something to learn from its primitives. Additionally, the speaker continued, we will be revising our first contact protocols. No species will be dismissed as primitive simply because they approach problems differently than we do. Rocky leaned close to Sarah. Did we just change their entire civilization by breaking their favorite toy? Not breaking, Maya corrected quietly. Improving. Like they're about to improve themselves. The speaker's final words seemed to hang in the air. Perhaps it is time for the galaxy to learn that true wisdom lies not in achieving perfection, but in understanding how to progress through imperfection. As the assembly erupted in discussion, Sarah watched the quantum core's light playing across the chamber walls. Its new patterns were a constant reminder that sometimes the best solutions came from embracing chaos rather than fighting it. Humanity hadn't just saved the Xylaxians, they'd shown them a new way forward. And in doing so, They changed the galaxy's understanding of what it meant to be advanced. Perfect solutions, it seemed, weren't always the perfect answer. Legacy of imperfection. 6 months after the quantum core crisis, the UES Prometheus hung in orbit around Earth, preparing for its new mission. Commander Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck, watching shuttles ferry supplies and personnel to and from the ship. Each craft carried specialists chosen for a task that would have seemed impossible a year ago, teaching the galaxy's most advanced civilization how to think more like humans. Still can't believe they're calling it applied human chaos theory, Rocky said, joining her at the window. Makes it sound like we actually know what we're doing, don't we? Maya asked, her cybernetic eyes tracking the shuttle patterns. The latest data from the Xylaxian colony shows their quantum core efficiency is up 47% since our chaotic intervention. Dr. Torres emerged from a nearby lift, his tablet displaying complex equations. It's not just the core. The Xylaxians are applying our principles to everything. Artificial intelligence, space drive design, even their social structures. They're learning to embrace controlled imperfection. Sarah smiled, remembering the latest transmission from Chief Scientist Vextal. The Xylaxian had been almost giddy, as much as their species could be, describing how introducing small irregularities into their AI systems had led to unprecedented breakthroughs in problem-solving. The real question, she said, is whether we're ready for what comes next. The what comes next was currently approaching Earth, a fleet of ships from 12 different advanced civilizations, all requesting human advisors. The galaxy's perfect societies had watched the Xylaxians thrive with their new approach, and they wanted to learn. Incoming priority message, the ship's AI announced. Source: Xylaxian High Council. The holographic display materialized, showing Vextal's familiar form. But something was different. Their crystalline structure showed subtle irregularities, tiny imperfections that would have been unthinkable 6 months ago. Commander Chen, they greeted, their tone warm. We've made a discovery that I believe validates everything your species has taught us. The display shifted, showing the quantum core. Its energy patterns had evolved into something entirely new, a complex dance of order and chaos that defied traditional physics. The core has achieved what we're calling dynamic stability, Vextal explained. It's not just maintaining energy, it's creating new forms of it, forms that our perfect models never predicted were possible. Like life itself, Torres murmured, complex systems emerging from controlled chaos. Exactly. Vextal's form rippled with excitement. We've begun applying these principles to our entire civilization. Our AI systems now incorporate random variables. Our social structures allow for unexpected outcomes. We're learning to thrive on uncertainty rather than fear it. Sarah leaned forward. And how are your people handling the change? There was resistance at first, Vextal admitted. Change is uncomfortable. But the results speak for themselves. We're advancing faster now than we have in centuries. Not in spite of imperfection, but because of it. The display shifted again, showing something that made Sarah's breath catch. A new type of ship under construction in the Xylaxian shipyards. Its design was unlike anything she'd seen before, blending alien precision with distinctly human elements. Our first collaborative project, Vextal announced proudly. A ship that combines our technology with your philosophy. We're calling it the Bridge. Rocky studied the design, whistling softly. Is that a manual override circuit I see built into the main systems? Several, actually. Vextal's form flickered with what Sarah now recognized as their version of a smile. We've learned the value of having options when perfection fails. As the briefing continued, Sarah reflected on how far they'd come. 6 months ago, the Xylaxians had seen humans as primitive beings barely worth noticing. Now they were building ships together, combining the best of both species' approaches. But the real change went deeper than technology. The Xylaxians had learned what humanity had known all along. that true advancement came not from achieving perfection, but from learning to work with imperfection. That strength lay not in avoiding failure, but in learning from it. "Commander," Vextal said as the briefing concluded, "there's one more thing. The High Council has officially revised our species classification system. We no longer rank civilizations by their technological advancement alone." "Oh." Sarah raised an eyebrow. "What's the new criteria?" "Adaptability, creativity, the ability to find solutions in chaos. By these measures," Vextal's form glowed brightly, "humanity ranks among the most advanced species we've ever encountered." After the transmission ended, Sarah stood with her crew, watching Earth rotate slowly below them. Soon they would leave again, heading out to share humanity's unique perspective with the galaxy, not because they were perfect, but because they had learned to be perfectly imperfect. "You know what the best part is," Rocky said, breaking the silence. "We didn't have to become like them to prove ourselves. They became a little more like us." "Balance," Maya nodded. "The perfect solution turned out to be imperfect after all." As the Prometheus prepared for its next mission, Sarah thought about all the changes their primitive solution had sparked. The galaxy was evolving, learning to embrace chaos alongside order, imperfection alongside precision. And humanity, once dismissed as barely worth noticing, was helping to lead the way. Sometimes the most advanced civilizations were the ones who remembered how to be simple. Sometimes the best teachers were those who had learned from their failures. And sometimes, just sometimes, the most primitive solution turned out to be the most advanced one of all. The future was uncertain, imperfect, and full of possibilities, just the way humanity liked it.